It might.
Will you four characters out there please stand so we can begin? All right, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, well, welcome to the first meeting after our recess. My board members are so rested that we're actually all here tonight, and I want to thank everyone for a full-strength meeting. We will not need all your strength tonight. This is a very light agenda, I hope. Cheryl, why don't you call the roll to prove how highly strengthened this board is right now?
Joe Burden.
Here.
Dennis Gagnon.
Here.
Peter Lewis.
Here.
Laura O'Connell. Here. Bob Lusardi.
Here.
Heidi Wendell. Here. Neil Zuckerman.
Here. All right, first I want to welcome a new board member filling the capable seat of Neil Toman. We have Bob Lusardi. Bob has an illustrative legal and regional career. He began his legal career in Syracuse, New York, which, having just visited there, the poor students look like they don't know what's going to hit them soon. Was there for help teaching a class with the dean of the journalism school, and all the kids were wearing, light clothing and having a nice time walking around. The sun was magnificent, and soon to turn to misery that they didn't seem to see coming. And you got to spend 3 long years up in the wilds there, but you've done some amazing things. A village attorney here in Nelsonville, and an assistant district attorney here in Putnam County, and many, many other things in front of these environs. So we look forward to having your service. We thank you for your volunteerism, although you are going to get a small stipend. And as I said to you earlier, at least I believe in the next couple of years you're going to get a higher dollar per hour than many of us on this board over the last few years, unless Glenn's got a client in his back pocket that's going to do another major. Not anymore. Well, that's, at least for now, it's kind of light. So thank you for that. We also are happy to have Sarah, our soon-to-be new full-time, or not full-time, but full replacement for Steve. We'll have a party for him when if he does come back to us at some point. We'll say thank you very much. Minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for the July 2025 meeting, please? Thank you, Peter. Second. Thank you, Joe. Any comments, corrections, deletions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. 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 Opposed, abstention, minutes. Yes, absolutely. Bob abstains courteously, and we move forward. Okay, great. Correspondence. We'll start with the Polhemus request that Charlie can get on with his night. Charlie's making a request for a 6-month extension on the site plan. Can you just give us 2 seconds, Charlie, about the why? Yeah, I mean, you can stand there and do the hand and arm signals if you'd like, but those at home would love to see your great head of hair. And
We just didn't work out in the first go around, so we're gonna get it done now.
Okay.
We're gonna pull the building permit and get started.
And you're asking for 6 months?
That's all I can ask for, I think.
Sarah?
Question.
I think it can be 90 days.
90's not good.
Well, you can come back for another one.
Yeah.
Is that the limit?
Yes.
Yes.
The resolution may have said something
for a 6-month extension.
Well, he's requesting a 6-month extension.
Yeah.
I understand. It's under the code section 112-15A, I believe you can get unlimited 90-day extensions,
Yes.
but they would be 90, and then you would have to come back and request the next one at 3 months. I believe the board would have discretion in this case if it wanted to do 2. I would defer to.
I don't think we've done 2 up front. Let's just put it on the calendar and,
It's a site plan, not a subdivision.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
just
this is really 175, not
It's just
112.
for,
Oh, I might have the wrong,
right,
or which, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Is this-
Yeah, it's just because.
oh, we're doing some procedural. Let's just get, Sarah, why don't you want to give that a look-see?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're,
One moment. So we didn't do the Hudson.
I'm happy to give you a 9-month extension if she says we can. I'm sure we're gonna, I just don't want to have you come back and then they tell us we're not allowed to do that.
It's a short drive.
Yeah, we can find you. It's not hard.
I apologize, it is 6. I was looking at the first matter on the agenda, my error. Thank you. Thank you all for your patience.
So 6 months is appropriate.
Yes, 6 is appropriate under Town Code Section 175-68E1.
All right, great. All right, well, as you notice, this board is having we have some new legal representation. We have to give them latitude, her latitude for that. Okay, motion to grant a 6-month extension of the Polhemus property. Thank you, Peter. Second. Thank you, Dennis. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Charlie, see you in 6 months. Hopefully not, but love you anyway. All right, Hudson Highlands Reserve, 90-day extension. Council, would you like to comment, or Glenn, whomever?
You should have copies of the cover letter I sent requesting the 90-day extension. We are very close to approval. A lot of the details have been coming together recently, very recently, in a matter of returning hopefully final comments from Mr. Gaynor regard his review. We need the extra time, and as I said in my letter, a lot of the approvals were serial in nature, and you had to go to one to go to the other to go to the third. There was a couple of times when we're certainly not blameless in terms of the time it's taken, but we've also had a couple of significant time lapses between approvals. There was one situation where two monthly meetings were canceled, and it was the third meeting that we finally got the approval. So we respectfully ask that you give us first 90-day extension on our final approval.
Great. All right. Ron, any comments?
Not at all.
None at all. Okay. Sarah, any comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, hearing none. All right, I have a motion to approve a 90-day extension for Hudson Highlands Reserve.
I'll make it.
Thank you, Dennis. Second. Thank you, Peter. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. All right, Glenn and council, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Margaret, nice seeing you again. You can take your tie off, yes. I didn't even wear sleeves tonight, so, good night. All right, Margaret, Szypula. I think maybe let's just start with Ron, just giving a sense of where we've been. I know we did a site visit a few weeks ago with the Conservation Board that engendered some commentary about the size, depth, and nature of the, I'm going to mispronounce, one more time, please.
Szypula.
Szypula, thank you, that's my mistake, it's the S, it's Szypula water feature that has some features that seem like a pond, that seems like a pool. So, Ron, if you mind, just for the viewers at home.
Yeah, the project originally came before you initially in July. At that time, you made a negative seeker declaration, and you scheduled a site inspection in August that was performed on August 17 in the company of both representatives of the Planning Board and Conservation Board. Concerns were identified, and that culminated in memoranda both from my office and from the Conservation Board to identify technical issues or environmental issues that were felt to require attention. The applicant subsequently submitted revised plans, reducing the project scale and scope by eliminating one pond and disturbance in what's currently a pristine undisturbed area. So they attempted to address concerns that were raised in those site inspection memoranda. And then more recently, you've seen two additional memoranda, one from the Conservation Board, another one from my office, just summarizing our review of the latest plans. It's now being reduced to the point of just some technical concerns that need to be addressed. But they're at a point where we think the board can schedule a public hearing on the application.
Okay. Margaret, would you like to comment?
Sure. So after the site visit, there were comments about the third and lowest pond, which has been eliminated, which basically was down here, if you can see my arrow. So there was a third pond down here that's been eliminated. And this area up here is actually not, it's a gravel planted area. So what happens is the water from here is pumped and recycled to this area at the bottom. And there are these crate-like things that the water bubbles up through, and then it goes through the stone, and then after the stone, it's directed down this waterfall feature and back into the pond. So there's an aerobic component to this where the water cleans itself. There's no need for UV light. It keeps the water clean. One of these was built at Boscobel. There's a water feature there now. And there was another one at a private residence off of 403. Years ago it was built. They both are functioning very well. I did show two stepped walls that are 4 feet. I believe Ron would like us to do some engineering on those, even though they're less than 4 feet, because they're holding back some water. Or it might not have been Ron, it might have been somebody else who commented on that. But basically, this is, no deeper than 4 feet, and the water's recycled. There's, stone or boulders, I guess you would consider them because they're pretty large, are all rebarred into the ledge rock to create this pond. And there's a controlled weir outlet here. So even on a 100-year storm, which would get 8 inches of water, you would have like no more than 0.1 cubic feet per second or less than 50 gallons a minute going over the weir, and it would never get to the point where it would top the pond in all directions. It's a very controlled outlet. I think that's about it.
Okay.
One of the other things that Ron had talked about was showing an alternative that only disturbs areas that is outside of the 20%. And although this one still shows this little area, I meant to delete that, so that this gray disturbance line would show an area that is an alternative area. It has more of a waterfall along the ledge, plus there's not as, there's very little change in elevation in order to get it to work. There may be some ledge here that we would have to cut into, or over here. Well, this is between the ledge, but overall there is more disturbance. It's not in an ideal location, and we think there's more disturbance to put a feature here than where we're proposing it in the backyard.
Okay, have you submitted that comparison, which is the requirement for the special permit?
So I had submitted it with the last application. I thought we had talked about it enough at the last meeting, so I pulled it off the drawings. But I can put them back on the drawings, another
It's
set.
well, I think that's the requirement that Ron has alluded,
Right,
is
yeah.
specifying in his memo. All right, let me turn it over to my colleagues for this matter. Questions? Peter?
I don't know if everybody got the letter from Andy Galler for the conservation. It's dated the 16th, which is also the date of Ron's last memo that went around. Do you feel that you've addressed the questions that he posed? Did you ever get a copy of this letter?
I did get a copy of it, but I don't know if
Because
I
there's
actually
some
read it.
significant ecological issues that he brings up. Also, use issues, and although you also have addressed, in your talking right now about a couple of the things, but he's got about half a dozen things which are pretty important to
When I was
consideration of the.
at the last
construction.
meeting, their concerns were, originally at the site walk, their original concern was this lowest pond, which we did eliminate. And then at the last meeting, the things that they spoke about were more in your purview, which was whether or not is something that you want to set a precedent for by putting a water feature in. I guess that is your ballywick, yeah.
Question of the day,
Yeah, so, were you at you were at the sidewalk, yeah? No?
At the walk?
At the
No,
sidewalk?
I was.
So
in the
this
hospital.
area that this pond is proposed has already been cleared. There's no trees that have to be taken down in order to build it. We've tucked it between the exposed ledge. If we hit ledge before we get to the 4 feet, we'll just scrape it off, and that's how deep the pond will be. The gentlemen that do this all over the country, they are in Long Island. I don't think they're used to a planning board process, because I kept asking them for details, and they had very little details, but they explained the whole process to me. And, they're very mindful of the environment. They build these so that they fit in with the environment. And even though we're going to have these 2 poured walls, they put rock and all in front of the walls so that you don't even see them. They look like they were God-made instead of man-made. And I do have some pictures of some of the before and afters. So this is rock face, and this is where the new pond is, which is this pond. And this, again, recirculates the water from the
This
lower
is someone
pond.
else's house.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. This is the aforementioned private dwelling you were saying?
yes, this
Okay.
is in Garrison
Okay.
off of Cat Rock. So this, again, there's no source for this water, it's just recirculated. It turns the waterfall on and the water circulates through the ponds.
Other questions?
I don't have a question. I just want to add to Peter's note, which is, sorry. So the Conservation Board mentions that we're talking about, it's a pool because it's a capacity of 22,000 gallons. My pool is 25,000 gallons.
So I guess that would be a determination by the building inspector and not necessarily the board, right? When I looked up on the internet, a pond is not regulated in New York State as far as needing a fence or having any of the controls that a pool does. But again, that would be the building inspector who still has to give a building permit, I believe, and whether for, not for the disturbance, but for the walls.
I think the spirit of what is being commented on is that, not to be too cliche, but if it looks like a duck and acts like a duck, potentially it could be a duck waiting in a pool pond. And so I think the spirit of the note, at least as I read from the Conservation Board, is
Okay.
if it's that deep, because 4 feet is, if you go to a hotel pool, most hotel pools are like 4 feet, because they don't want you diving in.
Right.
So their lawyers have them make them 4 feet, but you can still get kind of cool and enjoy off. And I understand that some commentary was made at the site visit about wading in the, whatever the heck it is, pond, pool, whatever. So I think that the spirit of what is being commented on is it a pool or is it a pond? And if it's a pond, does it really need to be 4 feet? Because if it's a pool, we should treat it like a pool, and if it's a pond, I don't know how many feet koi need or whatever animals are gonna be in the
No,
thing.
no animals.
Okay, so
No
it's
animals.
visual.
It's visual.
So
It's
so
a
I guess
water
what I'm
feature.
saying is, that what I think Laura's saying is does it need to be 4 feet deep? Because anything that can keep it out from being a pool
Mm-hmm.
would be okay, because then it's not a pool. If the guy wants a pool, then let's call it a pool. But
Right.
this is the whole duck, not duck thing.
I understand what you're saying.
I know you do.
They came to me asking for a pond. They did not tell me they wanted a pool.
I got it.
If we want to restrict it to be 3 feet deep, I mean, you don't want
Well,
to
I'm
make
not
it.
an expert in
I
designing
know.
pond pools, so I don't
Neither am
know.
I, but I'm going to tell you that the shallower it is, the more chance you have of not keeping good circulation, right? You need to have some water going. So, I mean, if we want to put a stipulation on it that it can't be deeper than 3 feet, we can do that.
Well, let's keep talking to other thoughts. Laura?
And just to say, I mean, we're also talking about a lot of water, right? And so, and I know you have the weir that's supposed to actually help with the mitigation of the overflow. But that's a 100-year storm. What happens with flash rain, which we all know is heavy downfall, like downpour, where you get 2 inches of rain, right, in a matter of like less than an hour.
Yep.
Right?
Okay.
And then the overflow, I mean, like, you know, all of that.
So the way that it's graded around the pond, there's no contributing there's no upland contribution of water. So it's all contained, everything is graded away from the pond. So the only water that would actually rain into the pond would be from the rain. So 2 inches, whether it's in 24 hours or 2 hours, is still 2 inches, and it's contained through the weir it would never go out faster than the 0.16, which I had in my calculation.
Because I think the Conservation Board's concern is passing the weir and then flowing down.
Yes.
So your design, or what you're kind of determining is that is not gonna happen.
Water will come out, but it doesn't come out at an erosive velocity, and it goes over the weir into a stone level spreader. So any water that doesn't infiltrate through that little level spreader and goes over is sheet flow. Eventually, it does, as all rainwater would, collects after about 100 to 150 feet. But that's what happens now as water runs across. So it's no different, and we're not introducing a point discharge that has erosive velocities or will bring like a tremendous amount of water at one time.
And I guess my last question is then, has all of that been shown to the Conservation Board?
I did give them the report, but they were waiting for Ron's comments on the hydrograph report, because it's kind of technical.
Let's finish other people first. Heidi, did you want to go ahead?
Well, I may be asking about the same thing Peter's gonna ask about, but the butyl liner,
Right.
Yeah.
have you modified that, or what is a butyl liner exactly?
It's a 45 millimeter rubber liner.
Is it, so it's, but, it seems like the Conservation Board has an issue with it. I mean, when you say rubber, so that's like something that you're sticking at the bottom of the pool or the pond? And why, and what, do you have a response to the fact that they say that it's not a traditional method of constructing self-filtering natural pools?
I can tell you that this company that builds pools throughout the country, this is how they develop them. I've spoken extensively with the gentleman who builds them. And I believe that the reason that they do that is because they recirculate the water and they don't rely on a natural source. They're not relying on a stream or some sort of a well to provide the water. The water's trucked in, fills up the pond, and then it's recirculated. So you would have to contain the water, because if I didn't contain the water, then I would lose the water. So that's why I have to have the rubber lining.
And it's rubber, not plastic, right?
It's rubber.
Well, the other thing that I was noting here is that the Conservation Board asked the Planning Board to ask you to look at alternate sites. And I guess that's what you addressed earlier, right? Just
We
as we were talking now?
We have to,
Yeah.
as a matter of getting the special permit.
Yeah, But did you address that? You just addressed that, right?
I did, but I
Okay.
can show you overall that this is their site. This is the overall property that they own. It's about 5 acres. This is the house. There's a driveway here. There's septic areas here, which is like kind of the flat area. There is ledge rock noticeably over here, and again down here. This, I don't think I had that in the topo in order to, so there's 2 types of topo, the one that we did ourselves, and then there's one that I got off a line. I did the slope analysis only within our topo limits, so this is probably also steep slopes. This is the only area that isn't steep slopes, so if I needed to construct this pond in an area that doesn't have either the 20 or the 35 and over, in this case 30 and over, we would be over here on the side yard, which is not, the ideal location. Plus, here is the alternate. It does disturb more area and would probably have more impact on the ledge than the area that we are proposing it.
Okay, other questions or comments? Bob? Bob, breaking the law, the rule of the first board meeting, but go ahead, go ahead.
Let me first say that I have some experience with this property, believe it or not. I had a lawsuit.
Well, I don't think Margaret's hearing you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. I just want to let you know, Margaret, you may know, I had a lawsuit dealing with this property when I was practicing law. It's going back a number of years, but there was a lawsuit between an Alex Campbell and my client, who was the builder who built the house, C.M. Nugent. That case was settled, and Mr. Nugent is now deceased, and I believe Mr. Campbell has sold the property.
Yes.
And it didn't involve any of the issues that are before this board, so with that disclosure, I had a few questions. I'm having a hard time understanding how 175-36B7 works. I'm new on the board, and I imagine that there's some sort of a history for how that section's been interpreted in the past, and I'm at a loss because I don't know what that history is. But just reading the statute, I'm struggling with this question of the special permit. It says, the statute says, the planning board may grant a special permit allowing the disturbance of slopes of 20% or greater for a purpose other than those listed in section B1 above. And B1 above just talks about roads, access roads, things like that to access a site, a building site that's presumably not on a steep slope. So in order to get to a particular site, you need to go across a steep slope, and those are the things that were permitted in the in the steep slopes section. So here it says, though, I'm sorry, it says that the planning board may grant a special permit allowing the disturbance of slopes of 20% or greater for a purpose other than those listed in B1 above, provided that this board makes a written finding that the proposed development would involve less land disturbance and have less overall impact on soils, vegetation, scenic views, and water resources then would development in compliance with section B1 of this section. So the way I read this, and I may be reading it wrong, and I'll defer to what this board's history has been with this particular issue, but I think it's a very important issue in my mind for the precedent that it sets, and I think that was actually one of the things that was raised by the Conservation Board as to the precedent setting of this particular application. The way I read this when I was first reading this statute is that if you that you can build within the steep slopes area if that would be less of an impact than putting one of these access roads would have or retaining walls would have in the developing of a property. So if that's not the interpretation, if there's, I think the town engineer had something a little bit different in his report. He said, however, this special permit is in item 1 at the bottom of his most recent memo. He says, however, this special permit can only be obtained if the applicant can provide a showing that the proposed activity will create less disturbance and have less overall impact on soils, vegetation, scenic views, and water resources than if it were located on an unregulated portion of the site. So I think that's a little bit different interpretation than I enunciated just a moment ago. So I'd like to ask you, what is your understanding of what you must prove here to get this special permit? What are the findings that you want this board to make?
All right. In the past, we've sought and received some steep slopes permit. One, to take down a hill because, the slopes were too big. We'd have to disturb the slopes in order to grade the property. So that wasn't to create a retaining wall. So I think that the statute is, if I wanted to do something on a piece of property and I'm going to impact slopes greater than 20%, that I would show that placing it where it is in the 20% is less disturbing than if I placed it on an area that isn't 20%.
Bob, let me just answer your question, which is as someone just reading it for the first time, I think you quickly notice the contradiction in it. By definition, building on a steep slope causes less disturbance than going laterally around and making a big road, by definition. Going up quickly as opposed to going around circuitously we always, and this, since I joined this board 13 years ago, I noted the exact same thing when we had, Ron, what was the matter down below where Andy Gower lives? God, what was the name of the hill?
Oh, that was Santucci.
Santucci, thank you. And this very issue was the first question I asked on this board, because I said the same thing. This board has unfortunately established this precedent since this zoning code was adopted, which was only a few months before I joined this board. This is a fundamental, I would describe as an incongruence for our next code rewriting, because by definition, you can always show there's less disturbance going up than going around. So I think it's fundamentally challenging. I think it's a matter for this board to consider. I think we have to talk through what are our moves here, but the reality is that Margaret will obviously be able to show it, and as her statement has, as anyone who's ever presented in front of this board in my 13 years, there's always less disturbance going up.
You're talking about roads, but we're not talking about roads.
No,
here.
we're
We're
not
talking about a water feature, and that's why I'm having a problem.
And I would just add to that, during the time period that I've been on the board, we've approved quite a number of driveways
Yes.
that need a special permit to violate the steep slopes provision. But that's because otherwise the applicant couldn't even use the property. But this is something that's entirely discretionary. I mean, it's not needed for them to use their house. They don't need to have a driveway. We've approved a lot of, it's almost like we always approve the violation of the steep slopes provision if somebody needs a driveway that has to go through the steep slopes rather than, as Neil said, to wrap around. But this is a little bit different. and, you know, it's not needed for them to use their property.
I think the reality is that what the statute says, we don't state whether it's a discretionary or mandatory. What we're saying is, can you show in another part of the property that would have less steep, that are not steep slopes, that is more disturbance to be there? That is the analytical question that Ron has posed for us. That is the test in our code, and that is the germane topic in front of us. But you had other questions, you said.
Yeah,
Can I?
Yep, go ahead.
So the other thing that the code implies is that it's a permissive code and that people have the right to use their property. I just wanted to state that, you know, and we're not here to prevent people from doing things on their property. We're here to make sure that they do it in a responsible way.
Of course, I'm just addressing the issue of the precedential value of this, because we've commented in the past how it just seems like there's many applications that seek to special permits that would go against the steep slopes, you know, provisions, and
That's the only reason they would be here.
All right, guys, let's let Bob get to his other questions, because we're gonna be here for a
Sure.
long time otherwise.
the other question had, also similar to the one that the chairman of the Conservation Board had, which is, he was commenting in terms of the maintenance of the system if the owners of the property are part-time, all right? Well, I have a little bit of a different twist on that. You know, my question is, how is this water feature going to be used? All right, and by that I mean, usually you see these type of water features for pools or patios in, you know, high-end homes, where you would have, for example, a barbecue and a patio and an in-ground pool, and they put these water features in to add a sort of extra feature to it. Here you're going to have a water feature coming down a hill to a pool at the bottom. So in order to enjoy this water feature, the owner of the property was going to have to go down, I assume, walk down this, whatever this path is there, and I assume sit at the bottom there around the side of the pool and watch the water flow down? Is that what we're talking about here?
Okay, so there is a driveway on this side of the property. It's cut off from here. That comes down through, this is like a little parking area. They have a little portico shelter here, and they have like a little fire pit and some Adirondack chairs here where they could come and enjoy the water feature. But they also have a patio up here where you could, from their backyard, you can visually see this whole area. This is the back of their house. They have windows back there. And you can also enjoy hearing the water feature. Now, the water feature runs 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Never shuts off.
So, all right, so there is going to be some sort of a patio area, if I understand you correctly?
There's an existing patio area here, and there's an existing gathering area here. They're not going to make another patio, but it's like a grassed area that they utilize for a little fire pit.
And this road goes down, can you show me
I
where?
can show you on the overall. I think I shut the layer off. I'm really sorry. It comes here, around this edge, and here. That was a permitted driveway that comes in here.
All right, so it'll be accessed by car then? Is that the
You-
idea?
Oh, you can walk right down the hill. It's not, it's not steep. It's not really that steep. We all walk down it. You can go from this patio area and walk down here.
Can you see, I'm sorry, I missed that. Can you just show me again?
So this is a little grassed area in the back of the lawn. This is a little like 2-foot wall. You can step down over this wall and walk right down here.
All right.
Other questions, Bob?
No, that's it.
All right, Ron, what's the germane topic we're wrestling with right now? I know we've got people who had good questions on the topic. We've had memos from the Conservation Board and from you. as I understand your key message is we need to see the comparative data between a non-steep slope area and its disturbance versus the steep slope area and its disturbance. Anything else?
In a very basic sense, the regulation is written to hopefully avoid disturbance of slopes greater than 20%. However, they give you that caveat that if you wish to disturb 20% or greater slopes, you have to provide a showing that illustrates that your proposal is less impactful to the environment than if you put it in a non-regulated area of the property. And that's what Margaret's been wrestling with to try to provide that justification.
Do we have that in hand at this point?
No.
From your perspective? We do not. Okay. So I mean, I think Margaret, I know you said you've described it verbally. You said it was an earlier packet. I think we're going to need it before because our next step is to schedule a public hearing. And the completeness of I don't think we want a public hearing unless we have a complete packet available for the public.
I will have a complete packet by the submission date for your next meeting.
Okay, so is that in time, though, for us to schedule the public hearing? Should we wait to schedule the public hearing at the next meeting?
It's really the board's decision. I obviously am not going to let go of the issue until I know it's satisfied.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What I don't want to do is schedule a public hearing where the information is incomplete to the public for the conversation. So,
But we typically can submit and have the public hearing. There's enough time for that.
okay,
It's
Thoughts?
it's not unprecedented.
okay. Council, what's your thoughts here?
I would concur with Ron if it would be submitted in time, but if not, then
Obviously.
you suffer the consequence and it could be opened and continued, but nothing would be accomplished.
All right. Well, my sense is we should just go ahead then with the public hearing. I think we have the matters at hand and the conversation's been clear. And if, Cheryl, you want to invite Andy Gower and company from the Conservation Board to join that public hearing, given the vociferous remarks and the documentation that they provide is worthy of a conversation. So I have a motion to schedule the public hearing. Yep, yep.
So we tried to do that the last time, remember?
I do not, actually.
You were not here. It was me. Yeah, it was with Dennis, because we were trying to, because there was an application that was trying to expedite the schedule of the public hearing. They did not have their information. They were going to submit their information in advance of when the public hearing was going to be. And there was a risk, because we have to notify everybody, and if by chance you don't get the information in, then we have to pull the notification.
Margaret seems like she's apoplectic right now, so go ahead, Margaret. What's your response to this comment?
That was when we were going to have a joint public hearing between the two boards. The Conservation Board does not have, they have just an input to you. There's no permit that I need from them. So you referred this project to them for comment. So if you invite them, they're just public. They're not here.
I think we're saying two different things. We're not having a joint public hearing. We're gonna have a public hearing for this.
We're not having a joint
But
public
what
hearing.
Laura is stating is, I think she's just saying once bitten, twice shy, or whatever the phrase is.
No,
So,
but I think you were saying because we were inviting them, that it wasn't, no.
We had, I think it was Hudson Valley Shakespeare, or it was Hudson Highlands Reserve. It was one of them. It was one of them. And we were waiting for a ruling, or we were waiting for something from whether it was DOH or DOT or something. We didn't have it, and the applicant didn't have it, and they were saying, well, if we get it in advance, before the public hearing, we can then submit it, but let's schedule the public hearing with an understanding that we're gonna have the information, and if we don't, we will then withdraw the public hearing.
But I am not gonna notice the public hearing, or shall? We don't notice the public hearing before the submittal date, right? It's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks before. The submittal date,
can we, let's answer this. Have you finished this analysis?
I've done it in 3 different places, but 2 of them don't count, so I have done it.
The answer is yes, you've
The
finished the
answer is yes.
analysis. Okay,
Yes.
so the analysis is done, and it just needs to be transmitted to,
I just need to
Fine.
put it into part of the plan set, and I'll resubmit a whole new plan set.
that is good enough for me, but let's just take a vote, and then we can vote whichever direction we want. But I hear your point about that. So can I have a motion to schedule a public hearing for Szypula pond pool thing? No motion, no one wants to do, all right, no, okay.
I'm gun shy.
Gun shy, all right, wow.
I'll make
All
the
right.
motion.
All right, Dennis, second? No second, all right. We're not gonna have a public hearing then, until.
Until I submit in 2 weeks, and then
That's
I
what
come
I'm- that's what
back
I'm
in
hearing from
another
my
month.
colleagues. I'm not, I don't have my thumb on the scale here.
I understand, but I'm not waiting for something from somebody else. I'm producing this myself.
I understand that, but also if we understand kind of the communications and the correspondence that Ron has been having with you, we've been asking for it, and so,
Is that the case, Ron? You've been asking for this for some time?
Sure. It goes back to the very first meeting.
Okay, all right, so Margaret, go ahead.
It was on the last set of plans,
Is
which.
that true?
It was,
Yeah.
yeah. But,
Plans she
Well,
provided.
And I-
Go ahead.
The plans she provided to me, I mean no disrespect, but the plans that I was provided to review for that condition were, failed to satisfy the obligation of the filing. They were disturbing too great an area, and the alternative has to be outside of greater than 20% slopes, and her plans did not provide that. And I kept
they did
reminding
show
her of
other
that.
areas that were more disturbing.
I'm gonna stop this right now. Let's just stop. I trust both of you. I know you well, I know you well. I trust both of you. The reality is that we are paying our town engineer to advise this board. He is saying he doesn't have what he needs. We need to have what it needs. It's clearly, I could not even get a second on the motion for the public hearing. That is not an indictment of anyone. It is a completeness issue. Let us get, between the two of you, let us get the completeness. We will do it in the October board meeting. We will, I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee even Jimmy Kimmel is going to be on the air anymore. But what I can guarantee is we're going to have a conversation this board meeting about scheduling the public hearing at the October meeting. And then we will have a fair, and you will get a fair hearing on that hearing. And we'll go from
Thank
there.
you
I see no
all.
reason if we do not have, if we have a complete file, I see no reason why we wouldn't have a public hearing.
In November.
In November, that's correct.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Margaret. Okay. Thank you. In that matter, any new business before this board? Hearing none. Motion to adjourn. Okay, thank you very much. Good night, those folks at home.